I've got another homeowner versus a contractor case for you. I know how much you guys love those.
We're here on this case. This is a small claims case. It is file 2302882SC, Susan Forrester versus Ron Yearling. We're here today because we are trying to proceed here on this small claims case, meaning without the use of attorneys. Neither party is asking for attorney, and without the use of a jury trial, but this to be just decided here in front of me. First thing I have for a question I have for both parties, if you're willing to proceed without attorneys and in front of me to make the decision, then I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. Mr. Yearling, I can't see you, but I'd ask you to raise your right hand the same way Ms. Forrester is going to raise her right hand.
Yes.
Swear or affirm testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes. I do.
All right. So I have this. I don't get too much information here. It says essentially we are talking about what kind of building is this?
A lean-to. So
on carport.
Carport. All right.
So I drew this lovely picture for you on Microsoft Paint. First, so you could see what a lean-to was, and second, so you could see what an absolutely terrible artist I am and why I need you to submit me your drawings for my Design a T-shirt contest, which ended yesterday, but I'm extending to today because I didn't get enough submissions. So go to my website, MegsCrimeWatch.com, and design me a T-shirt, please. So a lean-to is basically any kind of awning that comes off a structure that's attached to the building on one side and leans into the building and has two legs attached to the ground on the other side.
And Mr. Yearling, is this what you do for a living?
Yes.
All right. So you are an actual licensed and insured construction.
Yes.
All right. So what Ms. Forrester is saying is $3,300. Was that the total cost that was spent to build this?
Yes.
Between the two of you? All right. And how long ago was it built?
Over 2 years ago.
Okay. I have a date here, February 24, 2022. Is that when something went wrong, Ms. Forrester?
Yes.
All right. What went wrong?
The roofing was not attached sufficient, and when the wind blew, it just blew up and down and it hit the roof on the house.
Okay.
And
I have you saying something here that doesn't sound like a lay opinion. It sounds like you're saying does not comply with heavy snow loads in this state. That sounds like some sort of expert opinion. What do you mean that this building that he built for you doesn't comply with some sort of laws in this state?
Because it was not built to hold the weight of the snow that we get. When we get the snow in this area.
So you're saying that simply because when it snowed, it collapsed?
If we got a heavy load, yes, of snow. I'm not guaranteed how much snow we're going to get.
Here's what I mean. A lay person, meaning someone who doesn't build things for a living and inspect codes or pull building permits, would say things like, I don't know what happened, but it snowed, and when it snowed, the roof collapsed. So I don't think it was built right. What you're saying is very specific. You're saying he didn't get a building permit. This is not up to code for the state of Michigan. Using 2x4s for construction is wrong. That sounds like a lot of things that someone who knows what they're talking about would tell me. So are you just guessing at those things? Or are you telling me those are true things?
They are true things.
Oh, and how do you know that they're true things?
Because the trail next to my house, there was construction workers working on it, and I asked them to come over and look at it.
So someone who knows more than you came and looked at it and said, oh, this isn't up to code. This isn't built right.
Right.
Okay. So instead of 2x4s, what should it have been built on? Do you know?
Are you asking me?
Yes, ma'am. You're the plaintiff. You're the one that said he used 2x4s. That's not right. It's not up to code for the state. I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm asking you, what should he have done other than 2x4s?
Okay. As soon as the gentleman across the street looked at it, the contractor looked at it, I said, what should it have been built on? And he explained to me Well, then I went around the neighborhood and I looked at where other construction was built, like I wanted, and I looked at the way they were built, and it was 2x6s.
2x6s.
Yes, built with
Okay.
that so that it would
Now,
have
2x6 versus 2x4 is a choice. 2x6 is better, costs more money, right?
right.
You can build with 2x4 all day long. That's why I'm wondering. And you say he didn't pull a building permit
No, there was
when he
no
built
building.
this for you.
No, he did not.
Okay.
And I
What
didn't
was
know.
spo-
I didn't know that he had to have one.
What was supposed to go in this building? What was its purpose?
It was to park my car under, and also
Okay, so
because
it's a carport. Is what you're saying? A carport? He called it a lean-to. That's what I mean by first things first. We have to get into this was built for what purpose? So you could park your car in.
right.
All right, so it's a carport. And you said it lasted about how long before something went bad wrong?
Oh, well, it was right shortly after he built it that I kept hearing the noise, and I asked him about that, and he said, "Oh, we could get more nails and put in it." Well,
All right. Is it still usable or did this thing fall apart? What's the current state of it?
it's gone. I had someone
How did it
remove
get?
it.
Oh, you
As
had
soon as
somebody
they took
remove it.
out the posts, the supporting posts that were supposed to be supporting it,
All right.
they just lifted the roof up and the poles fell to the ground.
All right.
They were
Did
not
you pay
even
someone
secured
else
in
to
the
build
ground.
you a new carport?
Pardon me?
Did you pay someone else to build you a new carport?
Yes, I did.
How much did that one cost you?
37.
All right. So in other words, it didn't cost any more money. It just was built differently and you haven't had any problems with this new one.
No.
And how long have you had the new one?
I've had the new one up, what, 3-4 months? I can tell you
Okay.
that.
Not necessarily through a winter yet, though.
Yes, it went through this winter. It's been through this
Well,
winter.
ma'am, it's January 30th. We're not through a winter yet.
We're not through the winter yet, but it's been through quite a bit already because of the snow loads that we had.
Okay. But here's the problem. In other words, here's what I wanted to tell you. If Ron is just some guy who says, hey, I can build stuff, I'll build you this carport and it'll be cheaper to hire me than it will be to hire some construction guy. And you pay him $3,300 instead of $5,000, which is what the expert would have charged you, and it falls apart. Guess who's going to be stuck holding the bill for that?
But I thought Ron did everything
Ma'am,
right.
it's just a hypothetical. Okay, listen to me. When people come in here, sometimes they hire a licensed and insured contractor to do something, and then that protects the buyer because you did it the right way. Lots of people hire Bob down the street because he says, oh, I can build you a carport for cheap. And you go, oh, okay, well, it's cheaper than hiring the other guy, so I'll hire him. And he's not licensed and insured contractor, and then the thing falls apart. Guess who gets stuck holding the bill for that?
Well, Ron actually was working for
Okay,
A1
ma'am,
Roofing and
I'm
did
not
work
trying
with,
to confuse you.
that's
It's
why
a pretty simple.
that's why I hired
right.
him. It's because I thought he knew what he was doing.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to confuse you, okay? It's a fairly simple back and forth. What I'm trying to explain to you is if he's not licensed and insured and you pay him because it's a cheap way to get it done and it falls apart, that's your fault all day long because you went with the cheap guy that wasn't licensed and insured. I'm just explaining that to you. Ron has told me he's licensed insured contractor. So now the whole tenor of this hearing spins and I turn on Ron and say, Ron, I got a problem here. You built a carport that fell apart, didn't even get through one winter. The next guy built the carport for about the same amount of money and it's doing way better. How is that not me telling you you must have built an inferior carport? Mr. Yearling. It's your
Yes,
turn
sir.
now. It's your turn now.
Okay.
Your carport fell apart. The next guy came and built a better one for about the same money that's lasting a lot better. How is it that you shouldn't have to pay this money back to her? You
Well,
built a substandard carport.
first of all, like 6 weeks ago, I went to her and I asked her what she wanted me to do about it. And I told her I would beef it up, make it right, make it up to code, because apparently it wasn't up to code. They told me that
Well, here's the problem. Why are you building carports without building permits? I'm assuming there wasn't a foundation there before.
They told me I didn't need the park manager said that permit wasn't required, and we built this back in 22, and it is 24 now. It's been over 2 years now since she's made her decision. And when I went over there to fix it, she told me she didn't want me to fix it, that she didn't want the carport no more.
All right, here's the problem. She's just a homeowner, right? You're the person who does this for a living.
Yep.
You didn't do it right. You didn't have a building permit. You didn't use 2x6s. The thing fell apart within a year. She doesn't have to let you fix it. She can choose to let somebody else build her a new one, but then she's going to ask you for her $3,300 back.
It did not fall apart, sir. It was in perfectly fine condition. There was just a metal that was overhanging that was should have been cut off shorter. That was the wind was blowing it, making a little rattle noise, but it did not fall apart at all. It was in perfect condition.
Ah, see, now that's a little bit different. Okay.
I just found out just now on the phone during this meeting that she had, I don't know if it's true or not, that she had somebody else build her one, because I was going to fix it for her 6 weeks ago and she denied me.
Okay. And that's what I want to get to, is I want someone to sort of answer my questions. So she did call you back and say, hey, I'm not happy with, there's something wrong with this thing, right? So you came back out. What was wrong with it?
There's a piece of metal that was overhung, that was flapping in the wind. I thought I'd cut it off, and that I could cut it off where she wanted to. She knows she was fine. That she's going to have it, that she wanted the whole thing tore down. That she didn't want me to fix it. She had changed her mind.
So you offered to come and fix it, and she declined.
Exactly.
All right. So Miss Forrester, tell me what it is that was wrong with the original carport that made you say you just want to tear it down and start all over again.
For one thing, the posts were too far apart. They were 9 feet apart.
Okay, but ma'am,
20-foot span.
It doesn't matter if they were too far apart, if that was not actually causing you any damage or any problem. So what I want to know is, what did the carport do that was so wrong that you said, forget it, I don't even want it fixed, I want it torn down and I'll start from scratch with a different building?
Because it was not built up to the code, and I didn't want it to collapse on my car. When he came over and he looked at it, I told him, I said, what happens if this collapses on my car? Oh, well, that was his wording. Oh, well.
Okay, but ma'am, so you're telling me that hypothetically you were worried that this building wasn't going to hold.
Right.
But it didn't actually fail at all.
No, it didn't fail at that moment. No.
And then when he offered to come back over and do more work to it, you said, no, thank you, I'm going with somebody else.
He was going to add more 2x4s to it. That's what he told
me. And you
me.
declined that and opted to go a different way.
I was going to make it up to code, and she declined.
Okay. See, there's the problem, is he offered to fix it, and then you chose not to go that route. Right?
Right. Because I didn't want
Then why should he have to pay you all the money when you're the one that chose to just not let him fix it and go with a different builder?
Because I didn't want added more 2x4s to the roof, inside roof of it. And that would just put more weight onto the um, 6x6 posts that were holding it up. And that would have been more weight on those, and it would have collapsed.
But here's the problem, man. Here's what your claim says. I'm going to read it to you word for word. Unsatisfactory building of the structure. Does not comply with heavy snow loads in this state. Ron did not file for a building permit. Use 2x4s for this construction. That's not your words, right? That's all stuff someone told you?
Me? No, that's what I looked up. I looked up the building codes. I'm sorry, I did not just, no, I had someone show me exactly where they were at in this book.
Here's my problem then. Tell me, what is the first thing that happened that made you think to yourself, I don't think my car part's good enough. I'm going to look into this.
What made me think of it was because my car was parked under there and I kept hearing that metal hitting. And I thought, is this not going to hold or what? And that
well, sure, but that's just wind. A couple of nails in that you wouldn't have heard that. You make it sound like this thing did have a problem because of heavy snow loads. You just mean you were worried it would.
I was worried that it was not going to hold up to the right, that it would collapse on my car. And I didn't want that to happen.
I agree. But here's the thing, man. All right, you're jumping the gun. You paid somebody to build a carport. They're a licensed and insured builder. They build a carport, and then that carport didn't have any problems. The problem it had was the wind was making it make a sound. The guy said, well, I can come over and put a few more nails in there and it won't make that sound anymore. And then somebody told you something that you said, I don't feel like my car's safe in this car part because you think it was going to collapse, right?
Right.
Did you have any indication that it was going to collapse?
Not at that moment. No, not until it started getting wet. The ground started getting wet and the posts started washing away. The ground started washing away. They were not cemented in. So it started washing the posts
Now that's
away.
A big deal, man. So when I asked you, what is it that was wrong with the car part that made you think it's not working anymore? Okay, we're getting somewhere now. So the car parts, the 2x4 supports were just sitting on the ground?
No,
well, not the 2x4s, the 4x6s. Or the
4x6s were in the ground 42 inches deep, setting on footings 42 inches deep. That's how you set a post.
They were not.
And that's what I'm saying. Ma'am, again, I just want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. What you just told me is the posts were washing out because they weren't even put in cement, like this carport is just sitting on top of the ground.
Right.
I almost don't believe you because that would be a ridiculous building. A bad wind would move that building.
I took pictures of it, of the posts.
Did you send them in?
One was 15 inches. One was buried 15 inches into the ground. Nothing around it, just dirt. The next one was 23 inches.
All right, so man,
the next one was 42 inches.
All right. And guess what? That picture would win your case. Why didn't you send in the picture?
Because I had all the picture. I had the paper sent in from the township saying that it was not satisfactorily built, had to be removed.
And you sent that into court?
Yes.
For me to take a look at?
Yes. I had all the paperwork filed in the court.
All right, hold on a second. The problem is we moved over to this electronic system. Aha. All right, so here's your proposal. Install 12 by 20 awning. Okay. The proposal's a little bit, I would call it skinny. Doesn't exactly say, it just talks about how big the carport's going to be, right? All right.
Yeah, there's a notice of unlawful structure.
You may. Well, here you go, ma'am. Here's why you win right here. First thing, sir, this says, yes, you need a building permit. That's from the Sagatuck Township. That's who you have to check with, the township. You don't check with the, is this a trailer park, ma'am?
Yeah.
What did he mean by a park?
It's a retirement village. Mobile home.
All right, let me ask you a question. Mr. Yearling, say you're gonna build something, right?
Quick story while you watch this building being demolished, because you know, Judge is about to ask them some hypothetical question he doesn't understand. I had a friend who purchased a house. The prior homeowner had partially closed in a rear screened patio so that it could be air conditioned. So a friend finished it off by putting in a wall and a door and made it a third room. When he went to sell the house years later, turns out the homeowner before him never got a permit for it. The city building department, building official, county, came out and actually made him tear the entire thing down and put it back to the original screen room that it was before, because a permit was never obtained in the first place. So the city official could come out, make her tear that down anyways, the work that he had done to put the thing up, and have it replaced. So that's what she should have stood on, is the fact that he didn't have a permit, and not worried about all this snow load and all these other technical terms that she can't follow through with the discussion on.
You gotta go pull the building permit. Who do you go see for that?
Well, first you go to the homeowner, then you go to the township. Like I said, I went to the homeowner. She said she went to the township, and the manager.
Did you go to the township? Well, sir, she's the homeowner. You're the builder. Did you go to the township and see if you needed a building permit for this?
I personally did not. No. She told me she did.
All right.
That's what.
Isn't that sort of normal course of business?
Excuse me?
Isn't normal course of business for any construction is you got to go pull your building permit?
Yeah.
That's the difference between you and the guy down the street that tells her, oh, don't worry, I'll build that and it'll be real cheap and it'll be fine.
Right. Well, anyway, each one of them posts were 42 inches down. If there wasn't, somebody cut them to get them out of the ground. But and I offered her to.
Hold on a second, because I just
take the whole roof system right off and do it right, make sure it was right, and she denied me. So, and then every time for the last 6 weeks, I've been trying to call her to set up an appointment, and she has not even answered or returned my phone calls.
Well, here's the problem, sir. Here's the problem is that's sort of after the fact. The very first thing that's supposed to happen is you're supposed to essentially hit the township that you're building something there, so that as a service to both you and the homeowner, they're going to come and look at it after you're done and make sure it's up to code, right? That's the whole point of a building permit.
Right. Well, the law states that the building, there's only a year and a half, what was I going to say? It's anything after a year and a half, I'm not responsible for. 18 months, that's the law.
Sure, but she can sue anybody up to 3 years, and all day long I can give her the money. So essentially, where I'm stuck is step one is get your building permit. I just need you to explain to me how this would somehow be an exception.
Well, the homeowner is responsible for the building permit.
Sir, I built I built my own house. I tell you right now, that ain't true.
It's either or. Whoever wants to do it is responsible.
Yeah. And what happens? Every contractor in the whole world tells the homeowner, don't worry, I'll go pull the building permit, because the homeowner has no idea what that means, where to go or how to do it. And you do it twice a week. So you always say to the homeowner, don't you worry, I'm going to get the building permit, I'll square it away. Don't you say that on the vast majority on the jobs you do?
No, I don't do that at all.
Oh, you make the homeowners pull their own permits?
They pay for the building permit. It makes it cheaper on the total bill.
Oh, I know that they pay for it, but who takes care of getting it, sir?
And then it costs time and money to go get it.
All right, Mr. Yearling, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a chance here. Listen to my question. I know that the homeowner is going to pay for that building permit because it's their thing that they're getting built. You're
you
telling
can
me
add it
that
onto the bill or their paying
you're
for it.
telling me that you don't go take care of that for them, that you make them go get their own permits?
Some of them do it themselves. The last ones I've done, the homeowners done it themselves. It's a lot easier for the homeowner to get a permit than it is for me. So that's why they do it.
Sir,
Yep.
I'm judging your credibility as we speak.
Right.
Whether or not I even believe you that your name is wrong.
Okay.
Tell me that when you build stuff for little old ladies, you make them go pull the building permit. That's your normal course of business. That's what you're telling me.
Well, I would have told it for her if she wanted me to, but we were on the assumption that we didn't need a building permit. Otherwise, if we would have needed it, I would have went and got it for her, or she could have went and got it, and I would have filled it out for her. But yeah.
And you tell me under what circumstances you're going to go from no structure to a structure and not supposed to get a building permit from the township who's in charge of the zoning for that township and who's in charge of inspecting it to make sure people aren't just building ramshackle pieces of junk.
What's your question?
So when is it that you don't have to pull a building permit and you're allowed to build a 20 by 12 structure?
Oh, it's pretty
on a piece of residential property.
Pretty much a lot of things, but an awning was something new that I didn't know about, and the homeowner and the manager there at the park told me that I didn't need a building permit. It was okay to build an awning without it. So I did.
I believe you all day long that you can build an awning because, sir, that's not a structure that has anything to do with the ground. That's something you're going to add to a pre-existing structure. I'm saying you're telling me there's a place here in Allegan County where you can build a 12 by 20 structure where one didn't exist before, and you don't have to go get a building permit on a residential lot. Please explain that scenario to me.
I do not know.
Because it doesn't exist, right? You would agree?
I don't know. I'd have to look to find out.
I'm giving you lots of chances here, Mr. Yearling. I'm going to find damages in the amount of $3,300. The only other thing I need to explain here between the parties is, well, two things actually. First is that is what we call the damages section. However, in this matter, Ms. Forrester had certain expenses that she had to pay just simply because this is a matter here in court. She had to file with the court and she had to pay to have you served, sir. Those costs that she incurred, she is also able to ask for those. They're simply different than damages. They're what's called costs. So we have damages in the amount of $3,300. The costs will be separate. Now, because we had a contested hearing, either party is allowed to say, I don't agree with what just happened there. I want to go ahead and take this in front of the district court judges in general civil. If you wish to contest my finding, you must do that within 7 days of today's date. You must also do that in writing. Either party has a right to do that. I'm not sure why you would do it, Ms. Forrester, because you're essentially getting what you're asking for here. And then, sir, I just want to make it clear to you, Mr. Yearling, why I just made that ruling here. Saugatuck Township sent a letter out essentially saying that your carport structure that's now owned by Sue Forrester at that address that was constructed by you was done without a building permit, is in violation of state construction code in several ways. It must be removed without delay to avoid structural failure and collapse. And then essentially told her, yeah, that's not it, and you have to get rid of it. So the fact that you didn't get a building permit is sort of a problematic for me, or the fact that you said that
the manager of the park told me I didn't need one.
And that's why I'm asking you, sir, can you come up with any other example where that was ever going to be the case?
Well, that's a private park.
It should have been real suspicious to you, right?
Well, it's a private park, that's why.
Yeah. But anyway, sir, the other problem is you don't make people go and get their own building permits. You pull them. You might make them pay for them, but you pull them. And then trying to say that since it's 18 months later, there's nothing she can do about it. I mean, that might be right as far as building permits. I don't know. But if she's well within the 3 years that she's allowed to bring small claims.
Well,
So
I still offered to go over there and fix it to make it up to code. All I had to do is pull out the joists and put new joists on because the structure was fine. The joists was like, say, 2x4s, and they should have been at least 2x6s, which I was going to make them 2x10s to make it even more structure.
I understand, sir, but that's things that should have been done in the first place, not after.
Denied me to go over there and fix it right.
Yes, sir, because she got a letter from the township saying it's a structural mess. It's got to be torn down, and it was built illegally. I'm not sure I would have given you much of a second chance at that point either. I just want you to know I read you that word for word. She did. That's not her writing. That's the document she received from the township.
Mm-hmm.
And so the total there is $3,382. Parties understand their rights on appeal?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Then we're all set. I'm going to go ahead and release parties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.